The billionaire stood in the center of the grand ballroom, his silver hair shining under the crystal lights, his voice calm but powerful enough to silence every guest. "Tonight," he announced, "my daughter will choose the man she wants to marry." Everyone turned toward Isabella Whitmore, the only daughter of Richard Whitmore, one of the richest men in the country. Cameras flashed. Businessmen straightened their ties. Young heirs smiled confidently, already imagining themselves as part of the Whitmore empire. But Isabella was not looking at any of them. She was looking toward the far end of the room, where a poor single father stood near the service entrance, holding the small hand of his 6-year-old daughter. His name was Daniel Carter. He was not invited as a suitor. He was not wearing a designer suit. His shoes were worn, his jacket was old, and his little daughter held a paper flower she had made herself. The room went silent when Isabella slowly walked past the millionaires, past the heirs, past the powerful men her father approved of, and stopped in front of Daniel. Then she took his hand. "I choose him." A shocked whisper moved through the ballroom like thunder. Richard Whitmore's face turned pale with anger. "Isabella," he said coldly, "do you understand what you are doing?" Isabella looked at her father with tears in her eyes. "For the first time in my life, yes." Before we continue, if this story touches your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us until the end, because what this poor single dad does next will change the billionaire's family forever. Daniel Carter had never dreamed of stepping inside a place like the Whitmore mansion. Just 3 years earlier, his life had been ordinary but happy. He worked as a mechanic, lived in a small apartment, and came home every evening to his wife Emily and their baby girl, Lily. Then Emily got sick. Daniel sold everything he could to pay hospital bills. His car, his tools, even his wedding watch. But life did not show mercy. Emily passed away on a rainy Tuesday morning, leaving Daniel with a little daughter too young to understand why her mother was not coming home. From that day, Daniel became both father and mother. He woke up before sunrise, made Lily breakfast, braided her hair badly but lovingly, dropped her at school, worked all day fixing engines, picked her up, cooked dinner, helped her draw pictures, and then stayed awake at night repairing small machines for extra money. He was poor, but he was honest. Tired, but never bitter. Broken, but never cruel. Isabella met him by accident. One afternoon, her luxury car broke down on a quiet road outside the city. Her driver had gone to find help, but rain began falling heavily. Isabella stood under a tree, frustrated, wet, and alone. Then an old pickup truck stopped. Daniel stepped out, holding a small umbrella. Lily sat inside the truck, watching curiously. "Need help?" Daniel asked. Isabella looked at him carefully. She was used to people approaching her because of her name, her money, or her father. But Daniel did not recognize her. He only saw a woman standing alone in the rain. "My car stopped," she said. Daniel opened the hood, checked the engine, and within minutes found the problem. "It's not serious," he said. "Loose connection. I can fix it for now, but you should get it properly checked." When he finished, Isabella asked, "How much?" Daniel shook his head. "Nothing." "Nothing? You were stuck in the rain. Helping someone doesn't always need a price." Those words stayed with her. The next week, Isabella visited his small garage. At first, Daniel thought she had come about her car. But she came again. Then again. She brought Lily a children's book. Then she brought lunch for Daniel because she noticed he skipped meals. Slowly, she began spending time there, away from the pressure of her father's empire. For the first time, Isabella felt seen not as a billionaire's daughter, but as a human being. Daniel never asked about her wealth. He never tried to impress her. He spoke simply, lived honestly, and loved his daughter with a kind of devotion Isabella had never seen in the expensive world she came from. But Richard Whitmore noticed. One evening, Isabella returned home late, smiling softly. Richard was waiting in his study. "Who is he?" he asked. Isabella froze. "Who?" "The mechanic." She looked down. "His name is Daniel." Richard laughed without warmth. "A poor single father?" "Isabella, you are my only child. You are not some foolish girl who can throw away her future for a man with empty pockets. He has more character than most men you invite to dinner. Character does not protect an empire." "No," Isabella replied quietly. "But money does not protect a heart." Richard's eyes hardened. "You will stay away from him." But Isabella did not. Weeks later, Richard announced a grand event. He invited powerful families, CEOs, investors, and eligible men from wealthy circles. Publicly, he called it a charity gala. Privately, everyone knew its real purpose: Isabella would be pushed to choose a husband from her father's world. Daniel was not invited. But Lily was. Isabella had arranged for a children's charity display at the event, and Lily's school had been asked to send artwork. Daniel came only to support his daughter, wearing his best old jacket, standing quietly at the back. Richard saw him and felt insulted. He walked toward Daniel with a cold smile. "You must be lost." Daniel remained respectful. "My daughter's drawing is here, sir. We'll leave after she sees it." Richard leaned closer. "Men like you should know where they belong." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Lily held his hand tighter. Isabella saw everything. That was the moment something changed in her heart. She realized her father was not just protecting her. He was controlling her. He did not care who made her happy. He cared who looked suitable beside her. When Richard made his announcement, the room applauded. The wealthy suitors stood proudly. Then Isabella walked. Every step felt heavy, but clear. She passed the banker's son. She passed the young CEO. She passed the senator's nephew. Then she stopped in front of Daniel. "I choose him." Daniel's eyes widened. "Isabella." Lily looked up at her father, confused. The ballroom erupted. Richard's voice cut through the noise. "Enough. This is embarrassment." Isabella turned to face everyone. "No, father. What's embarrassing is a room full of rich men waiting to be chosen like a business deal. I don't want a husband who loves my name. I want a man who knows how to love when life gives him nothing." Richard stepped closer. "If you walk out with him, you lose everything." Isabella's lips trembled, but she did not lower her eyes. "Then I lose everything." She took Daniel's hand, held Lily's hand with the other, and walked out of the mansion. For the first time in her life, Isabella had no driver, no security, no credit card, no mansion room waiting for her. She had only the clothes she wore and the choice she had made. Daniel did not celebrate. He looked worried. "You shouldn't have done that," he said. "I should have done it years ago," Isabella replied. Daniel brought her to his small apartment. It was clean but simple. Lily gave Isabella her blanket and said, "You can use this. It helps when you feel sad." That night, Isabella cried silently in the tiny guest room. Not because she regretted Daniel. She cried because she finally understood how empty her golden cage had been. The next months were difficult. Isabella tried to find work, but many companies rejected her, afraid of angering Richard Whitmore. Daniel worked longer hours. Rumors spread that Isabella had lost her mind. Newspapers mocked her choice. Social media called Daniel a gold digger, even though Isabella had no money left. One night, Daniel found Isabella sitting at the kitchen table, staring at unpaid bills. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I brought trouble into your life." Daniel sat beside her. "Trouble was already here. You just brought hope with you." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. Daniel continued, I can't give you the life you had. But I can promise you this. In this home, nobody will love you for what you own. We will love you for who you are. Slowly, Isabella began helping at the garage. She cleaned accounts, spoke to customers, organized repairs, and used her business knowledge to improve Daniel's small shop. Daniel was skilled, but he had never known how to grow. Isabella did. Together, they built trust with customers. They offered honest pricing. They repaired cars others called impossible. Their garage became known across the city. But Richard was watching. He expected Isabella to return within weeks. Then months passed. She did not call. She did not beg. She did not break. And worse, people began respecting Daniel. One morning, a major delivery company brought 15 vehicles to Daniel's garage after another repair shop failed them. Daniel worked day and night. Isabella managed the team. Lily drew a sign that said, Daddy fixes things with love. The job succeeded. That contract changed everything. Daniel hired 2 workers. Then 5. Then 10. The garage expanded. But success tested them too. A wealthy investor approached Daniel privately and offered him money to remove Isabella from business decisions. She is emotional, the investor said. You need men who understand growth. Daniel stood up. The only reason this place grew is because she believed in it before anyone else did. He refused. When Isabella heard about it, she cried again, but this time from gratitude. No one had ever defended her like that. Meanwhile, Richard's empire began to shake. A trusted executive inside Whitmore Industries had been hiding losses and making dangerous deals. Richard was too proud to admit weakness. Investors panicked. The company's stock fell. Partners withdrew. Newspapers that once praised him now questioned his judgment. One night, Richard sat alone in his mansion, surrounded by silence. His wife's old portrait hung above the fireplace. She had passed away when Isabella was young. Richard had promised to protect their daughter. But somewhere along the way, protection became control, and love became pride. Then he saw a news report. It showed Daniel's garage, now a growing repair and logistics service, praised for honesty, community support, and fair work. Isabella stood beside Daniel, holding Lily's hand, smiling with peace Richard had never seen in her face before. The reporter asked Isabella, "Do you miss your old life?" She smiled gently. "I miss my mother. I miss the idea of family. But I don't miss being loved only when I obey." Richard turned off the television. For the first time, the billionaire felt poor. Days later, Whitmore Industries faced its worst crisis. A fleet of company vehicles failed before a major delivery deadline. If the shipment did not move, Richard would lose a contract worth millions and thousands of workers could lose their jobs. Every major service provider refused. The job was too urgent, too risky, too damaged. Only one workshop had the skill and people to attempt it. Daniel's. Richard arrived at the garage in a black car. Workers stopped and stared. Isabella stepped out of the office and froze. Daniel walked forward calmly. Richard looked older than before. His voice was quieter. "I need help." Those 3 words cost him more than any amount of money. Daniel did not humiliate him. He did not smile. He did not remind him of the ballroom. He simply asked, "How many vehicles?" 42. Daniel turned to his team. "We start now." For 36 hours, the garage did not sleep. Daniel led the repairs. Isabella coordinated parts and schedules. Lily brought water bottles to workers and taped encouraging drawings on toolboxes. Richard watched from the corner, seeing something he had never understood: leadership without fear, loyalty without money, love without conditions. At dawn, the final engine started. The shipment moved. Whitmore Industries was saved. Richard walked toward Daniel, his pride broken but his eyes honest. "Why did you help me?" Daniel wiped grease from his hands. "Because your workers have families. They shouldn't suffer because of our pain." Richard looked at Isabella. "I thought I was protecting you," he said. "But I was protecting my pride." Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Richard turned to Daniel. "I judged you by your bank account. I was wrong." Then he looked down at Lily, who was holding her paper flower again. "And I forgot that a man who can raise a child with love already understands responsibility better than most billionaires." The garage became silent. Richard faced his daughter. "I don't ask you to come back to my mansion. I ask only for a chance to come back into your life." Isabella cried and stepped forward. For a moment, she was not a billionaire's daughter or Daniel's partner. She was just a daughter who had waited years to hear her father choose love over control. She hugged him. Months later, Daniel and Isabella married in a small garden ceremony. There were no television cameras, no powerful guests trying to gain favor, no diamond-covered ballroom. Just friends, workers, children, and family. Richard sat in the front row, holding Lily's paper flower in his hand. When the vows came, Daniel looked at Isabella and said, "I cannot promise you a life without storms. But I promise that when storms come, you will never stand in them alone." Isabella smiled through tears. "And I promise to never measure love by comfort again. I choose you in hardship, in hope, and in every ordinary day." Lily stood between them and whispered, "Does this mean I get a mommy?" Isabella knelt, took Lily's small face in her hands, and said, "Only if you choose me too." Lily threw her arms around her. "I already did." Everyone cried. Years later, Daniel's small garage became a respected company, not because it chased wealth, but because it was built on honesty. Isabella used her knowledge to create jobs for struggling parents. Richard became less known for his fortune and more known for funding schools, hospitals, and family support programs. But the greatest change was not in the business. It was in the people. A billionaire learned that money can build walls, but humility opens doors. A daughter learned that love is not obedience. A poor single dad learned that even after loss, life can still bring a second sunrise. And a little girl learned that family is not always the one you are born into. Sometimes, family is the people who stay, choose you, and love you when the world walks away. So remember this: never judge a person by what they lack. Sometimes the poorest person in the room is carrying the richest heart. And sometimes, the choice everyone laughs at becomes the choice that saves everyone. If this story touched your heart, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes that real love, honesty, and kindness can change a life.